What's going on, everyone? So recently I put out a video on all of the decks rated on a tier list, and one thing that was pretty consistent throughout that video is I mentioned how I was a lot more, I guess you could say, down on control compared to set one because of a lot of things that hose the control decks. In that video, a lot of you posted some comments saying Vader Blue is actually a control list that you really enjoy. So, well, I'm going to bring out one of my Vader Blue lists that I had been working on because this was actually my favorite set one deck. I tested it out early on into set two, some of the new cards and everything. And well, I was a little disappointed, but I figured we'd bring it back, make some adjustments because of all the decks that we're seeing in the meta right now, and seeing if we could take some wins or if control really is just pretty weak in the format right now. Before we get started, guys, I have a TCG play link in the description down below. Go ahead and use it if you want to pick up any of the cards that we're going to talk about today, or any cards in Star Wars Unlimited. The second thing is I started a Patreon with a few different benefits, including potential viewer games or just random Star Wars discussions and an exclusive Patreon server. You can go ahead and check that out in the description down below as well. Let's talk Vader Blue. Now, why do we run Vader and blue instead of like Iden double blue or Krennic green or Iden green or whatever the flavor of control you want to run? Well, the biggest reason is the fact that he's just a big leader that allows you to control the board. His front side action, one resource exhaust. If you played a villainy card, you can deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base. This sometimes is relevant. Sometimes you can, kill things like Death Star Stormtroopers or Greedos, or get a little bit of extra damage so one of your damage-based removal cards is able to kill something, which can be relevant. But more often than not, it's just the fact that he's a 7 resource flip, comes down as a 5/8, which is really hard to kill, and then deal something 2 damage when he attacks. He can oftentimes kind of clear the board for you or keep the board under your control after you super laser blast. But you also get access to aggression cards, which are actually pretty powerful to end the game with alongside your vigilance control cards, because normally vigilance as an aspect is more controlling and aggression's more aggressive. And so those those two cards pairing together gives you additional removal cards in aggression and gives you additional win conditions, also with all the kind of controlling cards you're getting with vigilance, which is really nice. Now, with that said, every single card in this list has a reason for being here, and there are certain cards that are especially in here because of the meta. I want to talk about, well, a few of them in specific. First off, I want to talk about the units that we're running. We have some Death Star Stormtroopers and Inferno 4 as our only earlier game units. Death Star Stormtrooper is essentially a 1 resource removal because it's going to trade with basically anything in the game on that turn 1, especially with the Vader action backed up. And if you have initiative, you play the Death Star Stormtrooper, and now you don't have to take any damage if they go into the ground, which is pretty nice. Inferno 4, this is really, really crucial in the meta right now. There's silencers, there's mercenary gunships, there's also TIE Phantoms, which is one of the most important cards that we have to deal with. And Inferno 4 just attacks and kills it, but it also sets up our draws, which is also really, really quite important. In terms of other units that we got going on, the only other unit besides our top end is actually Lieutenant Childson. This is still a decent card. It is good in certain matchups, but also weaker in others. For example, one of the matchups that I actually don't think it's as good in nowadays is Sabine. You can prevent some damage if you time it right, but if you have a little bit of a later game and you're on like turn 5, they can ECL out Wreckers and actually use Childson to deal damage to you. So you want to be careful about this. Also, it's not necessarily good against Bobas, but against decks, like Kylo Red or Boss Green, it can just be a very powerful fat unit that you can put in front of them, which is really nice. In terms of other units, we have late game units. So Emperor Palpatine, just a really nice kind of kill everything on the board type unit. Snoke can sometimes just completely remove some people's options and also deals with TIE Phantoms if they come around later on in the game. Avengers, this is the classical win condition, and it is the most powerful win condition, but it does get absolutely destroyed by certain cards in the meta, specifically TIE Phantoms. And if your opponent ever has, some big unit like a Crate Dragon around, then Avenger can end up killing you. So we have to pay attention to that. But if you get down on the board before Crate Dragons come down, or if you're able to deal TIE Phantoms, it still is a massive win condition. And lastly, we have Crate Dragons. This is actually a really powerful control card because it prevents your opponent from playing a bunch of units and flooding the board, because you just kill things with the Crate Dragon triggers, which is really, really nice. Now, those are our kind of end game win conditions. Those are our units, but what are we doing to actually get there? Well, first off, we have a bunch of removal cards. Entrenched is a way to deal with some space units that are really tricky to deal with, like TIE Phantoms. Although it's not a permanent solution, it can prevent us from taking a bunch of damage if we're against like Yellow Tarkin, for example, or just put it on a leader, which can be nice. The Force Choke kills Sabine, really nice. Power of the Dark Side, early game removal against basically any deck except for the TIE Phantom decks. Make an Opening, we need the 3 main deck copies because it does kill TIE Phantom, and it's one of the only cards that can actually do so. Open Fire just kills basically anything in the early game. On to the Vigilances. Vigilance is a 6 resource removal, but also gives us the ability to heal, which is really, really relevant in certain matchups. Takedowns and Fellow Dragons, I like a 2-2 split here. You can go 3-1 depending on the matchup, but I do like Takedown and Fellow Dragon. Depending on the matchup, Fellow Dragon's going to be way better, and if you're against more aggro deck, Takedown's going to be better. Again, I like that split depending on the matchup. Then we got ourselves Rival's Fall. The full 3 of, it just kills leaders straight up, which can be something that is a little bit harder to deal with in some cases. Super Laser Blast is a board wipe, and then we have a few other cards in the list. We got ourselves a Restock. This is just kind of a way to prevent us from milling out or getting back some important cards that we might want to shuffle in with Search Your Feelings. Also, Restock helps us against the Control Mirror. We got ourselves I Am Your Father. This is a way to potentially get some card advantage while also, in some cases, just killing a unit. 1 copy of Pillage. This is really good against a lot of the meta as a way to attack our opponent's hand. Instead of answering both their threats when they come down, you answer them when they're in their hand. And against some matchups, more mid-rangey ramp matchups, you're not really under that much pressure in the earlier stages of the game. And so Pillage can actually be something that is really, really powerful. But that's going to be the entire list. There's a lot of different changes that you can make depending on what you're fighting. Now, I'm not really concerned about the Control Mirror. If we're fighting item blues, if we're fighting that type of car, those types of decks, they can definitely be something that we can fight against. We have Crate Dragons, we have the kind of classical control matchup, and we have Vigilance plus Restock. Albeit, I would have liked another Restock if we're fighting control matchups, but you're usually not. The things that we have to look out for are Yellow Tarkin, Sabine Greens, Boba Yellows, Han Greens, Han Double Yellows. Those are the decks that were really kind of curious. Can I actually beat them? And heck, can I even beat some of the random decks that you might be fighting? So what we're going to do here is I'm going to try to get some specific matchups of the decks that are like top of the format. And then I'm going to see if we can just test against a bunch of random decks and see if we are going to take home some wins. Of course, I've already tested a lot with this deck in the previous, month and a half at this point, because it is my favorite set 1 deck. When I did go to some tournaments and did go into some paper events, that's what I had built, was Vader Blue and Sabine Green and Leia Red. Those are the 3 decks that I had built, and this was my favorite. So I've tried to make it work, but I will say it can be a little bit tough. Not that we're not going to win games. I totally expect us to win games today, but it's not going to be what you normally see, which is like 70% win rate, because, we are playing a meta deck against some random decks in some cases. Well, or we're testing out a specific counter, or we're showcasing potentially something that's a little bit surprising to the meta. With all that said, let's dive into some games with Vader Blue today. Okay, we're against Sabine Green. As I mentioned, I'm going to be looking for these more meta style of decks, and this is a pretty weak hand. Not really that much interaction. Couple of high drops and Inferno 4. I think this is going to be a mulligan. This is a significantly better hand. Go and Search Your Feelings and the Pillage. Turn 1 Death Star Stormtrooper is fantastic. Definitely like that a lot. They're going to claim initiative, so there's no reason for us not to deal a damage, and we are going to pass. Crate Dragon, not necessary in this spot, so we're going to go ahead and resource that. Make an Opening. They're going to Death Star Stormtrooper. Okay, well, we're just going to... Do I want to make an Opening here, or do I want to Power the Dark Side? I think we have options for Make an Opening later, and I'd rather get the heal, so we're just going to go with the Power of the Dark Side, get rid of that card, and then claim initiative here. They have a Battlefield Marine, which is totally fine. Hopefully we draw a couple blue cards here. We do, and a couple of fantastic ones, I might add, because of, Vigilance being such a powerful card. But what we could do here is just play a Childson, reveal 3 blue cards, and we have a 5/5 Sentinel. It can get killed potentially, but not on this turn. This is going to help us really prevent some of the damage. As I mentioned in the kind of initial deck review, you don't want Child Sins on like turn 5, turn 6, or turn 4, turn 5, because of pose, because of wreckers that can ECL out and just do a bunch of damage to you. But on the Sabine flip turn is really where you want the Child Sin, because this is a situation where we can prevent a lot of the damage that we normally would have been having to take at this stage. They could have a Dark Saber, which is not too bad because we then have Vigilance. They could have a K2, which again wouldn't be the worst because they wouldn't be able to get in a ton of damage. It looks like they're trying to figure out what to do here and how to sequence their turn to get in the most damage and maybe not lose as many units. Child Sin is, at least at this stage of the game, something that they really do have to pay attention for. Looks like they're going to get down a Fighters for Freedom, and oh, they're undoing that. Well, I guess they're trying to figure it out. Okay, going to go in ahead and hit the Fighters for Freedom, and then Rebel Assault in. Wow, okay. Very, very solid play from our opponent. Here, we have a very straightforward play. We just take down the Sabine Wren, and we move on with our life. The thing... Oh, actually, hold on. That's not what I wanted to resource. Sorry. My bad. I meant to resource the Emperor Palpatine, and I was going to say, as I was talking about that, we're going to take down the Sabine Wren with having the expectation that we are going to see a Poe Dameron or a Wrecker shortly after. So we really wanted that Fell the Dragon. So I'm going to go ahead and resource... yeah. There says it's actual YouTuber. It is. But I'm going to go ahead and resource probably the Make an Opening at this point. Or the other option is that I resource, well, the Emperor Palpatine, as I said earlier. My initial plan was to resource the Emperor Palpatine. So that's what I was going to do before I misclicked. So that's what I'm going to do here. Make an Opening can give us some heals. Thank you for watching. But Make an Opening can give us some heals, which is something that we really have to keep in mind against Sabine. So we're going to resource the Emperor Palpatine, keep the Fell of the Dragon. I would love to have an Emperor Palpatine, but we're still 3 turns away from that. Oh. 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 Some things are messing up here. Let's undo that. A little bit of confusion there. Okay. Now we're on track, guys. Sometimes this happens, and we're gonna make it all correct. I don't want them to pass through their entire turn where they Rebel Assaulted and did all that stuff and gotten some damage. That doesn't seem correct, especially since, well, we could do a lot better if they don't do that. Now we just let them take initiative whenever they are ready. Sabine Green is amazing. I think Sabine Green is actually one of the best, if not the best deck in the format. I know some people are hyped about Double Yellow Han recently. I know some people are excited about Boba Yellow and all this other stuff. But I played with Double Yellow Han about 2 weeks ago. I think I put a video on it. I was pretty impressed with it, but it wasn't something that was like, oh my gosh, this is unbeatable. Okay, Super Laser Blast is great. Rivals Fall, pretty nice. I think here is a pretty easy resource, the Make an Opening, and Vigilance. Just Vigilance away the red 3, heal, defeat. And we are in a pretty good spot here. Our opponent had a reasonable hand. 2-drop into, hold on, let me just heal and defeat before I mess this up. So we're going to heal, defeat. They had a 2-drop into a 1-drop, killing my Death Star Stormtrooper, and then playing another 2-drop into a Rebel Assault, Fighters for Freedom, Sabine flip, which is, all pretty reasonable. Make an Opening is decent. I think here I am just going to resource one of these rival falls. And I'm going to pass. And if they decide to play a unit here, do I want to Rivals Fall this? I feel like I want to Make an Opening just to gain 2 life, hoping that they're going to play another unit. Now I'm going to claim initiative. They're going to deal damage, and they're going to 4 cost. Okay, so I just did that to heal and prevent some damage over rivals falling, because we're going to Super Laser Blast this next turn. That's a restock. That's an Entrenched. Entrenched is at the point where it's not nearly as exciting, but I think restock is really not going to be relevant in this matchup, so I'm going to go ahead and resource that. And we're just going to Super Laser Blast, get everything off the board, and we'll see if they have something to follow it up. Looks like they have a Podameron. We're just going to claim initiative in that case. I know I could deploy Vader and kill it, but, well, there you go. That was exactly what I wanted to see, actually. Getting a Avenger is amazing. I was thinking I could flip Vader, but I was also thinking if they had Wrecker, they could just kill my my Vader afterwards. And now Avenger should give us the ability to close out the game, because we could flip Vader and actually just kill kind of the rest of their board. So it's Sabine Wren, deal 2 over here. And now they're going to claim initiative. We have a million removal cards in hand. I could go ahead and resource this Force Choke because we don't want them drawing additional cards, potentially burning us out. And we're actually in a really, really nice spot here. Definitely not like the most insane, like a pretty average Sabine hand, to be honest. Nothing too crazy. But also, we did a really nice job of controlling the board. Everything that happened there kind of went exactly as we wanted. We drew pretty well. We got ourselves the Vigilance. We got ourselves the Child Sin. Here, we can just go ahead and attack their base, defeat their Sabine. And now we just claim initiative, and we are going to win. We don't need to use any of our cards. Drew ourselves into even more gas. And we don't need to resource anything. We have healing. We have every way to kill a unit. Rivals fall, open fire, fell the dragons. Doesn't really matter what they play. We are going to kill it. They could have Wrecker, they could have Poe, and it does not matter. Pretty nice showing. And, well, that was pretty good. Looks like they're reverting game state. And that's going to be game. So GG to our opponent. That was a lot longer just because it was kind of bugging out, and then we undid a lot, both of us, mainly because of my mistake of misclicking. It didn't necessarily it didn't actually become relevant, and the Emperor Palpatine actually would have been better in that stage, but Fell the Dragon is a little bit more safe if they have like a Poe, for example, and, well, we ended up getting there. So on to game number 2. Into our next matchup, we got ourselves a Chirrut Red, which is going to be an interesting one because this can mess up with our hand, force throws, pillages, things like that. This is a pretty weak hand. I love Power of the Dark Side in this matchup, and we just overall didn't have that many options. On the other hand, I really do like this hand. I'm going to resource probably a Vigilance and a Lieutenant Childson, because those cards tend to be a little bit weaker in this matchup. And I know earlier I said I was going to go get some meta decks, and that's kind of the plan, but, well, someone joined. I try to set up the games asking for, like, hey, I want to see some Boba Yellow, I want to see some Sabine Green, and in this case, well, I got a Chirrut, which is totally fine, but we're going to definitely test some Sabine Green and some Boba Yellow even more in the video today. Going with an A-Wing on turn 1, which actually is pretty nice for us because what we can do is attack with our Inferno 4 and then play the Death Star Stormtrooper and deal damage to it with Vader's action. Restock, not a card that's usually relevant in this matchup, so I'm not too worried about that. Force Choke also can be followed up after Death Star Stormtrooper if we want to go that direction. Let's just go ahead and attack their A-Wing for 2 and see where they end up. Let's go ahead and play a Death Star Stormtrooper. And remember, we can use our action on the A-Wing. I wouldn't mind if they Tarkin Town the Inferno 4. There's also the option of, well, they don't Tarkin Town it, and we can go ahead and hit their R2 for 1. I'm curious on what they're going to do here. Don't want to take too much damage. Okay. We can Force Choke the Sabine. I think what I like doing here is actually claiming initiative. There's a lot of things that are going on that side of the board. And they can Tarkin Town the Inferno 4, which is what they're going to do. Make an Opening is a great draw. We could bottom the I Am Your Father. And the reason why I actually took initiative there was because of us being able to kill Sabine Wren here, which is really, really important. Fell the Dragon can be potentially pretty good. I think I'm going to resource this Force Choke, make it opening, and kill the A-Wing. And we're just going to kill the Sabine Wren to start us off. Already, though, we are kind of under a lot of pressure, right? Lots of damage coming in. Our opponent had 2-drop into 2-drop, 1-drop, which is, well, good. It's a good start. We'll see if they decide to attack in with the A-Wing. It looks like they do. Let's just go ahead and make an opening the A-Wing. And let's see where they decide to go from here. They're going to go ahead and attack in with R2. Not a big deal. We're going to claim initiative. Nothing else that we really can do. What we don't want to see here is like a K2. That would be pretty good. A pillage would be kind of annoying for us. Yoda, not really that bad at all. Entrenched is awesome on Chirrut. And in this turn, we get to go, well, open fire on Yoda. And then entrenched on Chirrut. And then we could follow up with Vigilance, which is very nice. Very, very nice. So let's go ahead and do that. R2 is attacking in and kind of setting up our opponent's draws, but it's not really that big of a deal. We're going to open fire, and then we're going to entrenched. We'll see if they have something impressive over there. We're just trying to get to Super Laser Blast now that we've drawn it. Pillage could still be a very scary card. It could force throw us. That's some things that we have to keep in mind. I don't think we can afford to really resource this Super Laser Blast, but we'll see. Passing here, not really that relevant in terms of what our opponent gets in terms of information. Let's pass again. I'm passing here, even though they deployed Chirrut, because I'm hoping that they have something else that we can kind of make them waste on their Chirrut. And if they took initiative there, or they just attack with Chirrut, that's fine. I would have just gone ahead and entrenched Chirrut anyways. Takedown is pretty decent, but we can go Vigilance into Vigilance, which is a way that we can really kind of prevent a lot of damage that's potentially being done to us. So I'm going to go ahead and resource this Takedown and then just Vigilance. I really don't want to see them pillage me. Pillage would be very, very unfortunate. In fact, if they pillage us, it's probably just game over unless we draw pretty well. Looks like they discarded a Takedown. That's totally fine. We're going to Vigilance, kill, and defeat, or heal and defeat the Wing Leader. The reason I'm killing that instead of like a Queel, for example, which Queel can actually give them some card advantage, is because, well, we're going to take initiative. They're going to attack with the R2, or they're going to use their resources in some sort of way, and that's going to be pretty important. Double Super Laser Blast is quite nice, and I think that we're just going to start by defeating Queel and actually milling them. Might seem a little bit awkward, but we have double Super Laser Blast. So we're going to defeat Queel and mill. And usually Chirrut's not going to have nearly as much burn. What I mean by burn is like direct damage to our face. And so we kill, and then we're able to take initiative. And yeah, they're going to get in for a little bit of damage, and then we're just going to Super Laser Blast. Pretty straightforward. If they have a play, then they may make it. They may not. They may expect a Super Laser Blast. Looks like they're playing kind of into Super Laser Blast. Not necessarily. It's just that, you know, they kind of have to use some resources. Like sitting on a bunch of cards in hand isn't like extremely nice for them. And we get to Super Laser Blast here. And then we could follow up by potentially deploying Vader. There is one thing that I'm really worried about at this point, and that's Crate Dragon. So when we get to this point in the game, when we have Arrival's Fall, we have double Super Laser Blast. We're feeling pretty good, but we do still have to be wary of the Crate Dragon. So Super Laser Blast, kill everything, and then they're going to play a Redemption. Seems reasonable to me. We're just going to claim initiative. And we drew ourselves an Entrenched, which, well, looks pretty good. And I'm actually not going to resource anything here, because we could just start off by entrenching, and now it can attack bases. We're not going to go into space anyways. And then we could deploy Vader without really fearing anything. And if they have a Crate Dragon before we deploy Vader, we get to Rivals Fall it. So this is kind of a nice setup. If we Super Laser Blast or Rivals Fall, then we would have to entrench the Crate Dragon, and that's just a lot weaker. If we draw Avenger, then yeah, we're going to want to get rid of this Redemption, but that's why I have Super Laser Blast. And look at that, they have a Crate Dragon. So we're going to go to Rivals Fall that. Yes, they can hit us for 6, but we're at a state in the game where Crate Dragons hitting us for 6 isn't that big of a deal. Crate Dragon coming down, as I said, that's like our least favorite thing to see. Let's go ahead and deploy Vader, just started getting in for some damage. And that's an Avenger. That's also a Search Your Feelings. I quite like all the cards I have in my hand. But I think the best way to go about it is just keep the 3 solid, amazing cards that can kind of deal with whatever. Ah, they're going to make us discard 2. Okay, that's totally fine. We get to discard these 2 and then just play an Avenger and kill their Redemption. So they do have Pillage, and that would have been a really disgusting card earlier on in the game. But now, at this stage in the game, they have to have something pretty good, and Crate Dragon doesn't actually do it. So let's go ahead and attack with Vader, deal 2 to the A-Wing. They're going to claim initiative, which is totally fine. We drew ourselves a Crate Dragon and a Make an Opening, both of which are quite excellent. And even if they hit a Crate Dragon, that's fine because we attack their base and deal 2 to the A-Wing, which is why I actually attacked. They're going to Redemption. Okay. Yeah, that's totally fine. They're going to heal some damage. Sure. Makes sense. Okay. Well, they definitely made a mistake there because I could kill with Vader, and they're undoing it because of that. They're probably going to end up, I would say, at 6. Like, this is where you stop. Okay. Well, we're going to do the same thing, which is kill the Redemption with Vader. And now we can make an opening the A-Wing and then kill whatever other play they have. I can also drop a Crate Dragon, but we're at the stage in the game where it doesn't even matter. Okay, well, they're going to do that. We're just going to drop a Crate Dragon. We're going to attack for 8. And now whatever they play realistically is going to kill them. If it doesn't, then I'd be very surprised. But there's not really a way in what they're playing to deal with multiple threats in one go around. Pretty straightforward. We had kind of a nice turn there by entrenching the Chirrut. And I mean, we're doing pretty well so far. None of these games are particularly close, if I would say, from a control perspective. These are just really, really solid control games. We're drawing well. And, well, Chirrut Red is not necessarily meta. I would even consider this like an A tier deck. It's more like B tier, in my opinion. But it's reasonable. Let's move on to maybe some Boba Yellows and Sabine. Into our next match against Boba Yellow. And this is a pretty fantastic hand. I am definitely not going to mulligan this. Now, previously, Boba Yellow was actually a reasonably easy matchup for Vader Blue. You know, going with like these pump effects with like cunnings and things really worked poorly when your opponent's just going to remove everything. And you didn't actually have high-powered units, and you couldn't even leverage Boba action because you can't bounce any units. So all of that to say, we are actually in a really nice matchup if that remains the case. However, there are a couple differences than before. One, they have Bazine. Now, Bazine can be a little bit tricky for us to deal with in some cases, right? Because they can attack our hand. The second thing is TIE Phantoms. That's why I kept this hand, because Make an Opening is in it. The third thing is they also have Boba Fett's armor, and that can make Boba Fett a little bit more difficult to deal with in some cases, depending on what hand we have actually drawn. Here's an Entrenched and a Lieutenant Chilton. Chilton's usually not that great in this matchup, so we're going to just resource it at this point. TIE Phantom is the card that we are a little bit afraid of here. And we're going to pass. Or saying hi. Hi. If they don't play anything, I'm totally okay with that. Don't mind that at all. That's the TIE Phantom that we were worried about. And we're going to go to Make an Opening it. It's one of the reasons why I kept the hand. Otherwise, Power of the Dark Side would be completely worthless. It would be absolutely atrocious because they can just target their TIE Phantom with the kind of opponent chooses a unit. They just target the TIE Phantom. Most lists are only playing 1 or 2, but some lists are playing 3, so we do have to keep that in mind. And I am the YouTuber, guys. I don't know of anyone that's using my name. I don't know if that's possible, to be honest. But that'd be a little bit awkward. I guess stay safe out there. Don't get baited if someone looks like me because they might not be. So here, Lieutenant Childson, again, going to be resourced. You don't want to spend full resources on a unit in this matchup. It's just too expensive for something that could just get waylaid and whatnot. But what we can do here is play a Death Star Stormtrooper and then deal one to the mercenary gunship and then entrenched something that they play afterwards. We do want to be careful here because entrenching or Power of the Dark Side, can get a lot worse if we entrench something. So we do have to just keep that in mind. They're going to play Triple Dark Raid, which is okay because we're going to just Death Star Stormtrooper and deal one to the mercenary gunship. I know I could take it, but I'd rather just get rid of it and deploy more to my board, which is quite nice because that's going to bounce back to their hand. And we drew ourselves into, well, a couple of really nice ones. And they're saying that they didn't realize that make an opening could kill the TIE Phantom. And yeah, that's literally the only reason I'm playing the full 3 of us, because of TIE Phantom. It is a crucial card. If you draw it in the matchup, then yes, it removes that kind of interaction, potentially being absolutely awful for us, but it is something that we do have to keep in mind. So here, if they Cantina Bouncer, not a big deal. We can just go ahead and redeploy whatever we got bounced or whatever got bounced. Power of the Dark Side is reasonable, but not amazing. That is a Boba Fett. Let's just go ahead and hit the 7th Fleet Defender with a takedown. And the reason I'm going to be taking down the 7th Fleet Defender is because I want to set up for a Power of the Dark Side on Boba Fett. They have 2 resources, so if they want to hit my base, then they can't get another play, most likely. And if they do, then, or if they do hit a unit, then they could have a full resource play. Oh, they have a Triple Dark Raid. Okay, so they're going to try to get in just some more damage. They got themselves a TIE Phantom, which is a pretty good one. No doubt about it. But it's going to bounce back to their hand, fortunately for us. Force Choke. Okay, Avenger. Honestly, pretty bad. We don't want Avenger. The only way we could deal with TIE Phantoms is if we have Make an Opening or an Entrenched. And we do have one of those, but, well, it's going to, unfortunately, not really solve the issue. And this is what I was saying about TIE Phantoms. You really need to make an opening. It's like the only thing that we can really do to beat this card. And it looks like they're playing more of a Triple Dark Raid Boba Yellow with a lot of vehicles, which is why they have multiple TIE Phantoms. So we just have to keep that kind of in mind. Let's actually start off by just Power of the Dark Side, because if they deploy the TIE Phantom, then Power of the Dark Side immediately becomes a dead card. So that's something that's pretty important. We can follow this up with Entrenched. Looks like they are going to play a Fett's Fire Spray. So we're going to I Am Your Father. And now if they make us draw 3, we can at least have options to draw into an answer to TIE Phantom. And if they just deal damage to the Fett's Fire Spray, well, we kind of prevented them from dealing a little bit of extra damage to our base. Here, we're just going to go ahead and get in for some damage. No, we're going to claim initiative here because we are going to entrench the Fett's Fire Spray. We also have Search Your Feelings, so we can search for the Make an Opening, which could be relevant here. We're going to claim initiative, and then we drew ourselves into Make an Opening. Even better. Even better. So now we're going to go Entrenched into, well, we could go Pillage, which could potentially be good here. We'll see what they end up going with. Entrenching any unit besides the TIE Phantom isn't really that big of a deal because we're going to clean it up with Super Laser Blast. But if you entrench a TIE Phantom, Super Laser Blast is unable to deal with it. Okay, so they're going to go with the New Adventure to reset the Fett's Fire Spray, which is really nice for them. That is going to get in a lot of damage here, actually, that I'm a little bit worried about. We're going to pillage them. So a New Adventure gets rid of the Entrenched. Really nice. They're going to discard a TIE Phantom, which is really good news for us, actually. Do not want to see that card at all. They're going to discard a Cunning. And we're going to see what they follow up with. Surprise Strike. Okay, so we're going to claim initiative here. Ooh, and they have TIE Phantom. They have the last TIE Phantom. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit scary, no doubt, because we, well, We have to make an opening, but if they draw into Fet's Fire Spray, and they could have a lot of answers here. As I said, the TIE Phantom is just so hard to deal with. If they have like a Cunning here, it's basically over. It's basically over. We have to claim initiative, and they have Outer Rim Headhunter and 7th Fleet Defender. Fortunately for us, that actually doesn't kill us, so we might have a way out. Open fire pretty bad here. We get to make an opening, the TIE Phantom, and if they draw themselves a Fet's Fire Spray or a Surprise Strike, we're still dead. But you can just see the pressure that TIE Phantom puts on the deck. Now, a New Adventure ended up working really well for them. They also had double Triple Dark Raid. They drew all 3 Phantoms. Like, this was a really nice draw against us. We did also draw double Making Openings, but you can just kind of see how difficult this card makes the list for us. And I take it back. We are just dead because, well, I could have flipped the Vader, but that wouldn't have done anything really because, well, I guess I could have. Well, I had to take initiative because otherwise we just die. So that wouldn't have worked. Yeah, I mean, I could have flipped Vader at some points, but they had a Fet's Fire Spray and a TIE Phantom. It can't kill TIE Phantom, so that's going to be GG. And there you go. We didn't really have too many options that game. The triple TIE Phantom was just too hard on our options in our hand, and then they just flooded the board. Super Laser Blast is the card that's really supposed to kind of reset the board, but they also had a really nice answer, the Entrenched, with the New Adventure to get in damage regardless and put us in a lot of a really bad spot, especially with that Surprise Strike. So nice hand from our opponent. We even had a good hand, but we still couldn't get there because of the Triple Dark Raid Boba. So on to the next one. Okay, so we got ourselves the next matchup, and it is Sabine Green yet again. Well, I tried to get a Sabine Green here for us to test, and this is a reasonable hand. Now, I have a definite decision to make here. I want to keep this Force Choke, but if I do, this Child Sin gets worse. So the question is, do I want to resource both Making Openings or just resource this Force Choke and rely on the Child Sin? I think in this situation, because I'm going to go turn 1 Inferno 4, I'm going to rely on the Child Sin and just resource this Force Choke. So we're going to go, oh, well, we have Force Choke again. I think we can top that, and honestly, probably top the Open Fire, just give us as many options as possible. We're going to claim initiative, and they're going to deal damage to us. Totally fine. But as I was saying, Child Sin really gets a lot worse if you don't have a ton of blue cards. And it looks like we are actually not going to have a ton of blue cards. We're going to start off by open firing the Marine. I kept both on top because of this sequence. If they have like a Wing Leader or a Fleet Lieutenant, we get hit for a massive amount of damage. But if we open fire, then not only do we not get hit for any damage, we also don't get hit for extra damage from the Battlefield Marine. Looks like they have an R2. Okay, totally fine. We are just going to attack in with your Inferno 4. This is essentially free damage. If they just have an R2 and take initiative, I am totally okay with that. Totally okay with that. Let's see what we draw into here. Power of the Dark Side, Rivals Fall. Rivals Fall could be okay. I could resource this Force Choke and just go all in on Child Sin. I think in this situation, it's actually not that bad of an idea. So let's go ahead and just start off by hitting their A-Wing. And the reason I'm going to hit their A-Wing first is because if they hit my Inferno 4, then obviously it's dead and it doesn't even trade. But also because they're very likely to immediately attack with A-Wing afterwards. Because if your opponent starts off with an attack on one of your units, it's kind of like a mental game in which you think that it's going to die immediately. So I figured they wouldn't attack with R2, allowing us to not take that damage from R2, while also guaranteeing us the option to potentially have killed the A-Wing with our Inferno 4. And it looks like they're going to attack into the Child Sin, probably because they have an ECL K2, is what my guess would be. Deal damage to each base. They're going to flip Sabine. They're going to ECL to K2, and they're going to attack in for 3. That's what my guess was. Or they're just dealing a damage to the Child Sin with R2 because they don't have any other option. Again, Child Sin can be good in the earlier stages of the game, but as soon as you hit turn 5, that's where it becomes a lot weaker. Opponent has a 4 of Cause. Okay, well, that is immensely weak. If that's what their play is, I am extremely happy because that is not something I am very scared about. That is a card that's scary on turn 5s, turn 6s, turn 7s. It's not a scary card on turn 3. And it looks like they got a Wrecker, they got a Cassian, they got a Rebel Assault, and a For a Cause. So they're for causing, dealing 4 damage. Again, they're revealing these cards. My guess is that they're keeping Wrecker and For a Cause. And maybe Cassian. Okay. I guess they put all 4 cards on top. I'm a little bit surprised on the Rebel Assault. I would not have expected them to put a Rebel Assault on the top of their deck. But here we get to go ahead and kill their A-Wing with our Inferno 4, which is amazing. They're going to deal a damage. We are going to pass. The dealing of damage obviously to stall actions. If they take initiative, that's okay, because all we're trying to do is get to higher amounts of resources. They are going to For a Cause. Totally fine. Totally fine. We're going to attack in for 5 here. And then we are going to see what's up on the following turn. Okay, they're going to play a Sabine, huh? What could they have for 2 resources that makes us really sad that we just claim initiative here? I'm not sure that there's anything that really for 2 resources is scary. They don't even really have that many options to kill Childson. And what this allows us to do is immediately kill Sabine with Childson and got the damage in. And they're probably going to play Wrecker here. Maybe they ECL it out. If there's a chance that they ECL it out. And if they do, we can Vigilance Heal, kill it. Once they ECL out a Wrecker, that's going to be pretty nice for us. Not sure why there's I guess they put the Cassian in the resource pile? I'm not sure why there's a Sabine Wren and a Cassian here, to be honest. Not really sure what our opponent's thinking right now, but they are thinking something. Remember, we have a Vader flipped next turn, and Sabine doesn't really have that many great answers to it, with the exception of ECL Wrecker. They can play a Wrecker and deal 5 to Darth Vader, but that's not really that relevant, because if they're just doing that as the only play, that's not really that big of a deal. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and just play out a Wrecker. That's totally fine. We're just going to Rivals Fall. Just use up all of our resources this turn. They didn't ECL it out, which means we didn't take damage, so I am pretty happy. Drew ourselves into even more removal. I Am Your Father. Pretty nice. I think we just resource this Entrenched at this point. And I'm really feeling good about this game now. Them not ECLing out the Wrecker here makes me a lot more excited. Here, let's go ahead and play I Am Your Father on the Fighters for Freedom. If they let us draw 3, that's nice. But if they kill it, that's even better. I think they should have allowed us to draw 3 cards, is what I would have done. Let's attack in for 2. Let's flip Vader. Let's attack in for 5. And now they have lethal on board. And it looks like they just conceded. So, well, really nice game against Sabine Green. This is like a classical Sabine Green. And you know what? They're asking for a rematch. So let's go ahead and rematch. And in this matchup, I didn't mention this earlier, but we do have a sideboard here. So they're rematching. Well, may as well sideboard while we're at it. Daring Raids can be kind of okay in some cases, but really it's the top targets that we're interested in. So that's what I'm going to bring in. And it looks like our opponent's also sideboarding here, but we're just going to bring in the top targets in replacement of the Crate Dragon and the Restock. This is an okay hand, but I think we could do a little bit better. Okay, drew ourselves Emperor Palpatine, Avenger, both of which are kind of weak. We do have a turn 1 play in the Death Star Stormtrooper, which is kind of nice. So let's go ahead and get that down. Let's see if they decide to deal 1 damage with Sabine. If they do, then, well, we deal 1 damage. If they don't, we still deal 1 damage. Lieutenant Childson can be pretty nice in this spot. So I'm going to go ahead and resource this Search Your Feelings. And what's nice about this is with the Inferno 4, we could also go Inferno 4. Okay, let's just go ahead and kill the Battlefield Marine then. Fighters for Freedom. Okay, well, that's going to be Power of the Darksided. That has Saboteur, so we really don't want it to kind of interact with Childson anyway. So we can play a Child Sin as a 5/5. And again, in this matchup, at this stage of the game, that's what we really want to do. So let's go ahead and drop a Child Sin in. Make it a 5/5. Fighters for Freedom can get past it, but that's okay. They can't deploy Sabine this turn. They're going to claim initiative. Sure thing. We drew ourselves an Entrenched, and I think that is not that exciting. Now, they can ECL at a Podameron here. It's one of the reasons why I kept making opening. Yep, that is a Podameron. That's kind of what I expected here. So this turn, we just go ahead and make an opening the Podameron to kill it off. And then we get to play the Inferno 4. So they're going to discard the Wing Leader here, probably to deal a couple of damage. Oh, they're gonna remove an upgrade. It doesn't matter, but they shouldn't have been able to remove an upgrade there. Oh, wait, no. They didn't deal 2 damage to my base. Okay, that's fine. Let's go Inferno 4 here. Power of the Dark Side seems reasonable. Force Choke also seems reasonable. Anything to kind of stall out the game while we can get to Super Laser Blast is what I want. So let's go ahead and make an opening the Podameron, heal up a little bit. They can deal damage with Sabine. We're going to claim initiative. And then we are just going to Force Choke the Sabine. I am your father. We're going to go Power of the Dark Side Force Choke this turn. So that's what we're going to be doing. Start off with a Force Choke. I suppose Force Choking fighters is actually better because this will end up getting in more damage if they play a red card. And Sabine, even though it can get Darksaber, so can Fighters for Freedom, and it doesn't really matter. So now we just go Power the Dark Side, kill their Sabine. And we claim initiative. Hopefully, I don't have a 2-drop here to follow up the K2. That would be unfortunate. And we drew ourselves an Open Fire, which is quite nice. Quite nice. So let's go ahead and resource the Avenger. I know we have a removal card to deal with K2, and we have Vader flip potentially, but we really just don't want them to have the option to flood the board and take us out. Now, they could have made us discard there, which would have been a reasonable play, but I think the guaranteed damage is a little bit more important for Sabine. And let's just go ahead and attack with Inferno 4. If they pass, that's totally fine, because we will just take initiative. We're going to claim initiative. And I very much like that. Anytime our opponent passes, I'm very happy. They have a Wrecker in hand almost certainly, and they are just trying to see if we will deploy Vader so they can hit the Vader for 5 with Wrecker. We're going to pass, and we're going to see what our opponent's up to. They clearly have a Wrecker in hand, and they're trying to hit my Vader with it. And we are just passing because we are the control deck. It's our opponent's. Wow. That is definitely not something that I would have expected. Them going ahead and just claiming initiative is definitely odd. Again, if they pass here, I am just going to claim initiative. They did not, so let's go ahead and get down a Snoke. This might seem a little bit awkward, but we're going to play a Snoke because if they play Wrecker, they could deal 5 to the Snoke, but then we can go ahead and kill Wrecker with Vader, keep Vader alive, and kill their A-Wing. And if they don't do anything and they just claim initiative, we can then deal 1 damage to the A-Wing with Vader. But then playing an A-Wing, they obviously have a ton of cards in hand. We're not even out of the game yet, or like we're not even out of the woods yet. We do need a finisher. Snoke is a finisher, and so is Vader, to be honest. But we do need to have the board set up. And really what I would love to see is top target. I would love to see vigilances. Any way to heal is what we're really looking for. Opponent's deciding, I guess, taking a little while to figure out what they want to do. No matter what, just dealing a damage to the A-Wing seems pretty good to me. I have an extra resource, and it's going to stall an action. It's just going to be a pretty nice play. Our opponent is really thinking through this one. I think they just assumed that we would have gone with Vader at this point, but stalling out the turns and them not playing anything for 2 turns in a row really, really favors us, because we would have need to drawn into something. That's a situation where you kind of need to make your opponent have it. In Sabine's case, and I think you just deploy Sabine or deploy Wrecker if I don't do anything. Especially since if I have to kill Wrecker, then that puts my Vader at 1 HP. Oh, so they have a timely intervention Poe Dameron, huh? Interesting. Interesting. I guess they have the time intervention. I like it. I like it. Okay. Well, we still can kill the A-Wing with the Vader ping and then the Vader attack. So that ends up being pretty nice. Didn't expect the time intervention, to be honest. That was a nice one. Let's go ahead and kill the A-Wing off with the Vader. This is more of a like different type of Vader green list or Sabine green list than the list that's sort of running the Rebel package. So here we have a lot of different answers. I think I could just not resource anything, but I don't think Entrenched is very good. Poe Dameron's in the game. They have Disabling Fang Fighters, it looks like. So Entrenched just seems pretty bad. And Fellow Dragon kind of kills anything that I'm really scared of. Okay, Wrecker comes down. Let's go ahead and just attack with the Inferno 4. And then we could probably I Am Your Father, the Wrecker. I guess we could attack with Vader into their base. And then if they do anything else, we just claim initiative. I like that better. Let's go ahead and attack in with Vader into their base. Because now if they do anything, we just claim initiative. Anything. Okay. So now we go ahead and go, I Am Your Father on the Wrecker. It's almost certain that they're going to let us draw 3 cards. Looks like they will. And that's awesome because we get to go top target on Wrecker, plus Fell the Dragon on Wrecker, plus we get to heal, and then also get in an attack, which was absolutely amazing. So fantastic couple of sequences there. Can go ahead and resource probably nothing at this point. Like I don't really see a reason to resource anything. And I mean, we are just in an amazing spot. Top target kind of put us out of range of anything really scary. And I mean, they've played double Poes, double Wreckers. They had a K2, they had a nice hand. I mean, overall, I mean, this is pretty nice from our opponent. Let's just go ahead and pillage them. And I think, oh, they're just saying GG. Okay, so GG. I was going to go ahead and go Vigilance, heal, put a shield token on Inferno 4, just in case they had like a timely intervention Red 3 to prevent us from winning this turn. I could have also like just relied on a villainy card to deal 1 damage to something and deal 1 to their base, which would have been kind of cool. But look, I mean, we're doing pretty well against Vader Green. I'm kind of eating my words here. We are just crushing with Vader Blue. We are just crushing. Like we got pretty defeated by Boba Yellow. I don't think it was like extremely close necessarily. But it gets Sabine Green in all the matches we played. It gets Chirrut Red. We kind of dominated. So Boba Yellow, maybe get another matchup against him, but on to the next one. Pretty nice so far. Into the next matchup, we got ourselves a Boss Green. I was looking for a Boba Yellow, but I figured, Boss Green, kind of an interesting deck that has cropped up a little bit. I think it's pretty powerful. This looks like a reasonable hand, but I think we could do a little bit better. I'm actually going to mulligan this. Into Snoke resource, probably a Make an Opening resource. And probably just to take initiative on turn 1. So the thing with Boss Green is we don't have anything for them to claim bounties off of, really. We don't want to put anything on the battlefield to allow them to claim bounties off of. Like Dengar here is a 1 resource 2/2. That's all it's going to be. It's never going to be anything more unless we play out Child Sense and Death Star Stormtroopers. But those are the cards that we don't want to see in this matchup. What we also don't want to see is, well, I suppose things like, well, Restock, or anything that's, well, Inferno 4, that type of stuff. Any early unit, don't want to see it. There's an Inferno 4. I'm going to go to resource that. Again, I don't want to be in a situation where they can put a bounty on, like, Price on Your Head, Rich Reward, whatever it is, and get some value that way. So I decided to go with Open Fire here first because there's a chance that they play something that open fire can't kill here, and I'd rather go ahead and power the dark side it. Entrenched is reasonable, but so is Fell the Dragon. I think, though, I will resource Fell the Dragon and keep Entrenched, mainly because we can go power the dark side this turn, maybe even deal 1 damage to something, and then follow it up with power the dark side plus Entrenched next turn. And the only reason why Entrenched would be a little bit scary to play early on is because we might draw power the dark side, and it makes Entrenched plus power the dark side like a terrible combination. I really want to get rid of these power the dark sides early on. They're going to claim initiative. We're going to pass. And I mean, them claiming initiative there, like that is certainly a play they can make, but it absolutely favors us. It absolutely favors us. And this is one of those things where I wanted to just play the game out because I also said I was going to be testing in some random decks in the format. And this is one that it does come up every once in a while. But the boss green deck really struggles when your opponent doesn't play any units. It is really, really rough. Draw ourselves double entrenched, or triple entrenched, I should say. I think I'm going to go to resource probably one of the entrenched. I like entrenched, but I like having the options available to me as well. It might just be worth it to keep all the entrenched around, though. I think that we can safely resource one of the entrenched here. Now we go takedown on the Trandoshan Hunters. And okay, they're going to claim initiative. Sure. Totally fine. Avenger is pretty good. Rivals Fall could be pretty nice. I think I resource one of these entrenched because I can go pillage plus entrenched this turn. Let's go pillage our opponent. Make them discard 2 cards. Remember, we can get down a Darth Vader this turn if we want to. They're going to discard 2 bounties. Makes sense to me. They're going to flip Bosk. Sure, we're going to claim initiative. Don't need it entrenched because we have a Super Laser Blast next turn. And we're just going to Super Laser Blast, set up for an Avenger. That is what the deck does to try to win. We can also flip Vader next turn, so that's going to be pretty powerful. Takedown, make an opening. Make an opening's pretty weak here. They don't really have that many cards that can get killed by it, and they're probably not going to keep cards that get killed by it. Super Laser Blast, kill everything. And I mean, the game feels a little over at this point. We get to flip Darth Vader, kill their Interceptor. They're going to claim initiative. We get to kill the Interceptor. We pass, drew ourselves a Crate Dragon. And I mean, now there's kind of an embarrassment of riches over here. Crate Dragon, Avengers, Rivals Fall. We can go Rivals Fall plus Open Fire. Entrenched is now pretty weak because we are going to want to get down units to finish out the game. So Entrenched ends up being a lot weaker at this point. They play an Emperor Palpatine. That's totally fine. Let's just go ahead and drop an Avenger, kill their Emperor Palpatine. They can take initiative, but I mean, even if they have a Crate Dragon, it gets killed by Avenger. Child Sin, pretty weak here. Not necessary. Power of the Dark Side is pretty good. They said brutal. Haha. I'm sure you guys can see it. That's why I moved myself over. But yeah, this game just felt unwinnable. I don't think our opponent played badly by any means. Like him taking initiative or them taking initiative on those turns, they probably just didn't have anything to do because that's what boss green runs up against. Like you play these bounty cards, you play these things that kill other things because that's what Bosk wants to do is claim bounties. But when you're up against the control matchup, it is miserable for Bosk. They have a Crate Dragon. We just attack. It kills the Crate Dragon. And I mean, it is just so brutal. Like Crate Dragon doesn't even necessarily do anything. They claim initiative. We attack with Vader. We drop our own Crate Dragon. And now if they play anything, they just die to Crate Dragon. So pretty easy cleanup here from Vader Blue. This was probably the hardest stomp I've seen in a while. And again, it's not like our opponent played poorly by any means. It's just that this deck is just really brutal because if you're playing Dengars or things that have to upgrade opponents' units and you're playing like a total of 9 units in the earlier stages of the game, you're not going to have any targets, especially when I choose not to play them, which I will because that's what I'm looking for and that's what I can see. It is really rough. unfortunately for our opponent, they ended up going against it. Now, this is not what I'm really scared about with control decks. This is a matchup that's really good for us, like really good for us. What I'm really worried about is like the Bobas, the Tarkins, and that type of stuff. So let's go see if we can find one of those matchups again before we kind of finish off this video. So I really would like to get that Tarkin yellow matchup, but well, I think this is a nice little detour to take into Ray Red Town. Now this is a pretty reasonable hand. I'm not going to mulligan this. The open fire, the power dark side, all of that could be potentially pretty solid. The Death Star Stormtroopers are actually a little bit weak in this matchup, so I'm actually going to mulligan or resource those. And look at that. They went ahead and played themselves an A-Wing. So here, I think I just go Inferno 4. Draw. There's a Crate Dragon and Avenger, both of which we're not really looking for at this stage in the game. So let's go ahead and bottom both of those and then pass. Childson can be good. Super Laser Blast can be good. I think if we're going to go with the Childson plan, then we're going to go and resource this Entrenched and then just open fire. Make an Opening is solid. Emperor Palpatine is solid. Or bottom Emperor Palpatine because we don't want that. Let's just pass here. If they decide to use Ray action, that's fine. We're going to pass again. And if they just take initiative, that's also fine. We're not really under a lot of pressure here. Rivals Fall is a decent draw. Let's see. I can get down the Childson here. I can open fire. I can make an opening. I think I just want to get rid of this open fire here. Let's make an opening. The A-Wing. And now we kind of stalled to a point where we are in an amazing spot against our opponent. Pillage is reasonable in this matchup. But I think I just want to go with a very, very large Lieutenant Childson here. Actually, I can go Power the Dark Side plus Inferno 4. I take it back. They have Tarkin Town. They can just kill the Childson with a K2 plus Tarkin Town. And they're going to make us discard. Okay, let's just go ahead and discard this Inferno 4. They probably have a Pillage here, and we can discard the Super Laser Blast and Childson. Oh, okay. We're going to claim initiative then. They go in with Yoda. This is a matchup that's a little bit tricky because of all the discard going on from Rey. They have a Force Throw. Sure, we can discard this Childson. They could have another Force Throw. Nope, they're going to put an experience on Yoda. Seems reasonable to me. Okay, Super Laser Blast plus another Snoke, or plus a Snoke here. And I think I'm just going to pass through this turn. And if they have things like pillages, it can be a little bit scary. So we're going to attack with Yoda first. We're going to pass. They're going to take it. Or they're going to forced surrender here. Oof, what a nasty card for us to fight against, huh? Claim initiative. So forced surrender, not usually played, but it can be played in Ray Red. And this is a matchup where forced surrender pillages are really, really hard for us to beat. This is the matchup where it makes it really difficult. And here they could even get rid of the Super Laser Blast next turn with like a pillage or even a forced surrender. And it is really tough for us to come back. There isn't really much that we can do at this point necessarily. We're going to get rid of this Force Troke, and we are going to go ahead and Rivals Fall Array. But if they have another pillage here or Force Throw, they get rid of the Super Laser Blast, and there's not really a great way to kind of put us back on the map, especially since they can Rivals Fall Vader. And this is one of those matchups where they can do that very, very easily. Vigilance is a reasonable draw, but so is Restock. And honestly, this might be a matchup where Restock is relevant. No, I think I should resource the Restock. And we're just going to go with a Super Laser Blast. If they make me discard, that's fine. Super Laser Blast, they can draw a card. They make us discard. Sure. And I mean, here they could have Crate Dragons, right? They could have Crate Dragons here. Let's go and kill Poe Dameron. They use Tarkin Town. We're going to claim initiative. Clearly they didn't realize that Tarkin Town can't hit leaders. Sure, they're going to claim initiative. We drew double Entrenched. I will not resource here, hoping that they will pillage me. Because Entrenched isn't actually that great here. There's a Luke. Sure, let's go ahead and entrench the A-Wing. Trenched ended up being reasonable. Force throw, get rid of the entrenched, sure. And this deck is really tough for us. This is like we can't really do anything against this matchup. Because they put on decent amount of pressure and they attack your hand a ton. That's a takedown, which I think I'm just going to keep in hand. And we're just going to go search your feelings for, I guess, a super laser blast. There's not really much that we can get here that'll help us win. So we're just going to have to grab a super laser blast. And we're going to claim initiative here. And they have a forced surrender. So forced surrender, this is not a normal version of Ray Red. Double forced surrender isn't usually that great unless you're in a matchup where it's a little bit more controlling. But you could see here, this is one of the things that we're a little bit worried about. Like, this is a terrible matchup for us. Just as we beat Boss Green, they kind of defeated us like massively hard. And this is one of the things that's kind of scary with control, is these types of decks. So nice for our opponent. They had the tech, they had the forced surrenders, they had the forced throws. They didn't even pillage us, but that would have been even worse. On to the next one. Here's an interesting one. Double Yellow Han. This is something that a lot of people are kind of a lot more excited about recently. We're going to mulligan the first hand. I don't mind the I Am Your Father's, because if we draw a bunch of cards, we can get out of things like Bodhi. And, well, sometimes you can find yourself just really needing the extra cards. But this is a deck that a lot of people have been liking, mainly because, oh, it's bottom both of those. We can just leverage the fact that those additional resources get us really easy access to things like the DJ, and just playing like things like Cunning and Double Yellow Han is really strong. They play a Bodhi. We have Vigilance, double I Am Your Father. So we're going to go on an I Am Your Father, target the C3PO. If they allow us to draw 3, I am happy. If they just kill the C3PO, I am also happy because they cannot draw additional cards. And then we pass. Bodhi for them is like their most powerful option on turn 2. And we have drawn atrociously. Drawing double Child Sins and drawing that second I Am Your... having that kind of initial hand of double Vigilance, double Inferno 4, double I Am Your Father. Was that the hand? I don't remember at this point. But having all of that can be really awkward in some situations. Let's go ahead and attack in for 2. We can I Am Your Father plus go ahead and deal damage to something. They're going to get down a tech, smuggled out, it looks like. And then we're going to kill the tech. And then they're going to take initiative. We can deal damage to the Bodhi. And then we'll pass. Takedown can be reasonable. But overall, I mean, these are some pretty not great draws. I'll say that. Just not great draws. But also, we don't have like an amazing game against the Han yellow deck. It's just really hard to beat in this matchup. And this is something that a lot of people are playing a lot more. The DJ coming down hurts. The fact that they can ramp up early and attack our hand hurts. The fact that they can steal the resource with the DJ and then we can never get it back is really brutal. So here, they're going to ready up a resource. Maybe play Han, maybe attack, maybe play DJ. If they do that, then we absolutely have to kill DJ on this turn in order for us to keep our resource. And then we have some sort of chance. But we're passing here, and we're going to make them think about what they have to decide here. Millennium Falcon. Okay, so they can no longer play DJ, which is okay. So we're going to kill the Millennium Falcon. They can ready up a Han here, and that's fine. But they can't get a DJ down, which is really important. Surprise strike in for a bunch of damage. And seems reasonable to me. Let's see if they have anything else behind that. This Child Sin's looking pretty bad. Rival's Fall on Han is pretty nice, though, so I like that. Super Laser Blast is pretty good. Let's go ahead and get rid of this Child Sin. And let's just go ahead and Rival's Fall the Han. The one problem with this is even if you prevent, the 7 drops coming coming down and the DJs and all that type of stuff of Han Yellow, you still have to deal with techs being smuggled out and all the other things smuggled out. Like DJ on 7 resources can just happen naturally. Like that can just happen, you know. That is scary. That is not good for us. Right? They're going to play a tech here and we're going to claim initiative. So tech is very, very scary for a lot of reasons. So we have to be careful about that. Pillage can be okay in some situations, but not here because they have tech out. So I'm just going to ready up a Vader immediately. I know this kind of goes counter to the super laser blast, but there's a good chance that they're going to get down a DJ here. And if they do, then we need to be able to kill DJ before they can defeat that resource. So they're going to play Spark Rebellion, which is a little bit crazy to me, but that's what they follow up with, because we can now kill Tech and Bodhi, and we're not going to take any damage this turn, assuming they don't have something that gets readied up immediately, like Millennium Falcon, for example. But we kill the Tech and kill the Bodhi, and now that's 2 Techs gone, which is one of the cards that's really scary for us to deal with because of how many cards they could just kind of get rid of out of our hand. They're going to Cantina Bouncer. We're going to power the dark side, and we're probably going to search your feelings. And my thought process is I kind of want to get a Avenger. That's going to really kind of close out the game for us at this stage. Rivals Fall was a really nice draw because we can go Inferno 4 plus Rivals Fall. I could keep the Force Choke. Do I want to? I don't think I need to here, so I'm not going to. I think the Rivals Fall should be good enough. But Avenger's going to be really nice. They could have another Spark Rebellion and take my Avenger, and that would be unfortunate, but that's okay. They play a Han Solo. They're going to be able to kill my my Vader. And even though I could just kill Han, I think I'd rather just claim initiative and then just drop an Avenger immediately and kill their Han and then see what they have to deal with that. Because now they're forced to answer my threat. And yeah, they could return it to hand, but I'm just going to claim initiative again. Okay, they're going to Spark Rebellion. So they drew the Spark Rebellion. Not bad. We have Rivals Falls. We have lots of options available to us. They're going to get rid of the Avenger, but that's 2 Spark Rebellions down. That's 2 Techs down. Both of those are kind of cards that we have to pay attention to. We have 1 Avenger left. We have 2 Crate Dragons. We have 2 Snokes and 1 Palpatine. Let's just go ahead and Rivals Fall away the Cantina Bouncer. Make sure we take as little damage as we possibly can. They're going to play Akira here. Let's see what they decide to name. They're going to name Vigilance. Okay. Let's go Inferno 4. Bottom, top, the Open Fire. Between the ping from Vader and the Open Fire, we can kill Kira. They're going to claim initiative. Let's go ahead and deal a damage, and then let's pass. Death Star Stormtrooper, really not that exciting. Definitely can be resourced here. That's a Bodhi. They can take the Vigilance if they'd like. They will. Let's go ahead and Open Fire the Kira. So now they have played the 3rd Tech. Is that the 3rd Bodhi? I mean, this is a really nice draw from our opponent. Or, like, maybe not necessarily a really nice draw, but they have double Spark Rebellion, triple Tech. These are all things that are a little bit scary for us, for sure. Lieutenant Childson, not that powerful by any means. I think I'm not going to resource anything. We really need to get to one of our finishers, like a Crate Dragon or a Snoke or whatever it is that we have. Let's go and attack with Inferno 4. Let's see if they have anything to follow up this attack with Bodhi. They have Millennium Falcon. Okay. I think we just have to entrench the Millennium Falcon. It feels real bad, but there's not really much that we can do here. They're going to claim initiative. We're going to Childson, reveal the Fell the Dragon. And now what we can do is Fell the Dragon, the Millennium Falcon, because of us pumping it. So now they have only 1 more Millennium Falcon, only 1 more Cantina Bouncer, 1 more Spark Rebellion, and 1 more Bodhi. So there are a lot of different things that could happen here that are bad for us. But Crate Dragon was an excellent draw, so I'm very happy to see that one. Restock, really not that great in this matchup, but at least gives us some potential to do some stuff. Here, let's go ahead and just drop a Crate Dragon. And now, if they have some sort of bounce thing or whatever, we kill their Bodhi, because they can't really play anything that bounces the Crate Dragon and not have their Bodhi killed. And then we just replay Crate Dragon. We just take initiative and replay Crate Dragon, which is going to be awesome. So now they're going to go ahead and take initiative. That's fine. We're just going to get into their base for some damage. And I think we're going to restock here. And I think what I want to see is Avenger. I'm interested in a Vigilance, and I'm interested in a Rival's Fall, and I'm interested in a Power of the Dark Side. And let's pass. Secondary Crate Dragon plus a Snoke. Excellent draws. And now is where we really get to start to close out the game, because they need a way to get past the Child Sin, and they need a way to deal with Crate Dragon, which is going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and just kill the R2. Make sure they don't have anything like the bounce effects or hot shot blast or whatever. I'm not even sure what they could have, but this is like the guaranteed way. I suppose we could have just hit their base. It didn't really matter, because that would have put them at 29, and that would have kind of ended the game too. So I don't even know if it was necessary to kill R2, but I don't think that there was any way that we could have lost this game. There was not really any way we could have lost this game at that point. I was a little bit worried at the beginning of the game. I felt like we were really getting overrun here, but we didn't see a DJ at all in any point of the game, which is the card that you're really scared of. Unlike other matchups where the kind of tech DJ combo is more of like, okay, if I get it, I get it. It's nice, but it's not like a must-have. This is a matchup where Spark Rebellions, Kiras, they can really help you in the tempo advantage, but you're really looking for that DJ to put me down on a resource. And we didn't see it here. So this was a pretty mediocre draw from our opponent, or maybe they just haven't played the matchup because there's 16 cards left in library, left in deck, and they're bound to have a DJ. Remember, they can smuggle it out. Now, the key to this matchup here is if they do that, you must defeat DJ before the turn ends. And the reason being is as soon as they're able to defeat that resource that DJ has stolen, you're permanently down a resource. But if you're able to kill DJ, you get that resource back, which is okay. So as long as you're able to kill DJ before the round is over, it's not that bad. And honestly, I played this matchup quite a bit, and it's not as dominant as this is. And there are some times where, depending on the build, it can be really brutal for us. But even with them drawing Bodhi, which is the best card in their deck on turn 2, the triple tech, maybe they misplayed it a little bit. Maybe they could have played it in a better time when I didn't have, resources up. I don't know necessarily. I don't remember exactly every part of the game, but they even were able to bounce something in a Spark Rebellion away the Avenger. Like, that was a pretty nice sequence as well. They just didn't have enough pressure on us. And with like Cantina Bouncers, Millennium Falcons, and like C3POs, there just wasn't enough damage coming in. But perhaps this is a matchup where we will find ourselves winning maybe like 50% of the time. Really depends. But anyways, let's try to get in one more. And that's going to be that Tarkin Yellow that I'm looking for. And we'll wrap up the video afterwards. Okay, and we got ourselves another Tarkin Yellow here. And we're going to see if we can go ahead and handle this matchup. Not going to mulligan this. We have a very crucial card in the matchup in Make an Opening. Any hand that has Make an Opening is almost a must keep, because if they go turn 2 TIE Phantom, then we must Make an Opening it. The only 6 answers in our entire deck, with the exception of Snoke, because if we have a Snoke out, yes, it will kill the TIE Phantom when it comes down, but usually when we get Snoke out, it's too late, are Make an Opening and Entrenched. So I tend to not want to go ahead and play any sort of card that's going to, or play any of those cards that give us less option to kill those TIE Phantoms, because the game can go pretty long in this matchup. All right, let's see. They're going to go ahead and pump up their TIE Fighter. See what our opponent's got. Probably just going to drop an I Am Your Father on their TIE Fighter. If they allow us to draw 3 cards, that could be potentially pretty useful. If they let us kill a TIE Fighter, then we've killed a TIE Fighter. If we draw like a Power of the Dark Side, I might consider doing that instead. I don't necessarily like Force Choke in this matchup, but that's okay. Drew ourselves an Avenger and an Entrenched. Going to keep the Entrenched. I do like having that as a little bit of a backup here. Let's go I Am Your Father on the TIE Fighter. If they say no, that's okay. We get to draw 3 cards. I wouldn't be surprised if they say no. I don't think that's wrong by any means. Nope, they're going to let the TIE Fighter go. That's totally fine as well. That's just a 3 resource removal. That's what that ends up being. Let's see what our opponent's got here. See, they're deciding to go TIE Phantom. And the reason I'm doing this immediately, rather than passing and to see what happens, is because if they go TIE Phantom here, like they did, we still have the ability to claim initiative. And this is why this card is so important in this matchup. We need to be able to kill these TIE Phantoms. Now, if they go TIE Phantom after this and put an experience token on it, then we're forced to entrench it, because that is the only thing that can actually deal with it. I suppose I shouldn't say the only thing, as the other thing that could deal with it is going ahead and putting an Avenger into play and attacking it. But that's what we're talking about, trying to defeat this TIE Phantom. Those are the options that I have. Attacking it with Avenger, entrenching it, or make an opening before they're able to grow the TIE Phantom. Fortunately for us, we are able to kill it here. If they deploy another TIE Phantom, then we are definitely in a losing spot. But we're going to have to find out how the matchup ends up playing out. They're going to figure out what they want to do here. Wouldn't be surprised if they're holding on to like a TIE Advanced, and we're planning on TIE Advancing the TIE Phantom. Looks like they got themselves an ISB Agent. Reasonable card. Let's see if they have... I suppose you don't need to reveal anything. In fact, if they do, they just have to deal 1 damage to their own ISB Agent. We're going to claim initiative. I want to see what our opponent's got. Definitely have an experience token on ISB Agent at the minimum, but I imagine they'll have some sort of 3 resource play. Okay. Creating a 2/4 is totally fine. We can take a couple hits from the ISB Agent, and that should be okay. Gonna keep the Crate Dragon in hand, because that is one way we can end the game. We can end the game with Crate Dragons and Snokes and Avengers just to straight up attacking. But there are going to be a lot of situations where we are going to just mill them out with Vigilance. So keep that in mind. Force Choke, pretty mediocre in this matchup. Doesn't kill Tarkin when he deploys. Doesn't kill a lot of their vehicles, which they have. Usually they're not even playing anything 3 or more costed that is a non-vehicle. So Force Choke, kind of whatever. We have a Child Sin, which I'm going to go ahead and deploy here and just reveal all these cards, make it a 5/5. If they have like Overwhelming Barrage, that's fine. I'm going to do this, even though it gives our opponent information, because it's going to prevent a lot of damage if they deploy Tarkin and potentially give us some options in the future. They could have like Waylays and stuff, but if they go Waylay here, I'm not too worried about it. They're just going to be in a spot where they're going to get in a little bit of damage, and then we could potentially reset the board with a Super Laser Blast, etc. Frozen in Carbonite. That card is very weak on a Sentinel because we don't really care if we can't ready it. It's doing its job regardless. So not worried about that at all. They're going to go and give another experience token to the ISB Agent. We're going to claim initiative. I don't even think they should have bothered with the Frozen in Carbonite because they have to attack the Child Sin. And as you can see, they are attacking Child Sin. Yep. So that was a wasted Frozen in Carbonite. That was completely useless. Power of the Dark Side, pretty nice here. We could follow it up with either Entrenched or, something else that we got. Fel the Dragon is actually pretty weak in this matchup because there's not many times where our opponent's going to have a massively upgraded unit unless it's a TIE Phantom. And if it's a TIE Phantom, then Fel the Dragon doesn't kill it anyways. So Power of the Dark Side coming in, killing Tarkin. And then we have an Entrenched. If they play a TIE Phantom, then we're just going to have to entrench it because they're going to be able to potentially put some experience on it. If they go ahead and... Oh, they're going to triple arc rate. Okay, so they're looking for almost assuredly a TIE Phantom. That's the card that they want to see the most. But they got themselves a Reinforcement Walker, which is a totally reasonable card as well. They're going to be able to draw a couple cards off the Reinforcement Walker. And they are going to draw a card. And we're going to claim initiative here. Getting rid of the triple arc raids is exciting. So that's 1 down, 1 triple arc raids down, 1 TIE Phantoms down. The Reinforcement Walker won't be able to come down next turn, but they will be able to draw cards. And the Reinforcement Walker is scary because of the fact that they can draw into more TIE Phantoms. Rival's Fall is pretty nice in this spot, and we are going to be able to get down a Darth Vader shortly on the next turn. So if they deploy some sort of like ATST or some other ground unit, then we can kill it with Vader. Rivals full into Death Star Stormtrooper. I think I'm actually just going to get rid of this Death Star Stormtrooper. It's not really going to be relevant in this game at this point. And I'm just going to get down a Vader immediately. I mentioned this a couple times, but the way we win the game is like Crate Dragon, Snoke attacking, Vader attacking, that type of stuff. Or Vigilance Mill. And it's actually very frequently we actually beat them by Vigilance Milling because of the fact that we just can't deal with a TIE Phantom unless it's immediately placed and we have a make an opening right away. Darth Vader being down is pretty nice. The ways that target has to deal with Vader are Swoop Down and Overwhelming Barrage. They have an ATST, which is okay. I am just going to kill the ATST. This being essentially a free removal for us ends up being really, really nice. So I like that. Not having to use any resources in our hand or anything like that to kill whatever they play this turn is awesome, especially since we would love to search your feelings for a make it opening. And it might seem like, wow, I'm searching feelings for a make it opening. Yeah, that card is that strong. The other option I have is to search your feelings for a Snoke, because that could actually kill off a any sort of TIE Phantom that's played this turn. And because of that, I'm actually going to go ahead and keep my Snoke in hand, or go ahead and get the Snoke instead of the make an opening. Let's see what our opponent's got here. If they deploy a Reinforcement Walker, we can kill it with a combination of Snoke plus attacking it with Vader, which is also something that's very reasonable to do. Sacrificing your Vader to just keep the board controlled and then going with the Vigilance Mill. When you have cards like Snoke in hand, it turns off so many plays for the Tarkin Yellow deck, as long as they have no units on the board. If they have like an entrenched TIE Phantom already, wow, they're going to claim initiative. Okay, we're just going to attack here. That seems like very, very weak, but we're going to drop ourselves a Snoke here. As I was saying, once you get a Snoke on the board, it's really hard for Tarkin to come back from, because they don't have many units that can immediately outpace the Snoke. But if they have like an entrenched TIE Phantom on the board because you couldn't deal with it earlier, then they can kill Snoke with like overwhelming barrages and things like swoop downs. So depending on the sequence of all these cards really determine the outcome of this matchup, but it's very, very particular. And in this case, we are heavily advantaged at this point. Having the Crate Dragon in hand is really nice, and this looks like a game, even though I mentioned that we probably will end up Vigilance Building them, not having a single play on the previous turn, and having this many cards in hand makes me a little bit curious on what my opponent's really doing over there and what they have available to them, and whether or not they just don't know really what game plan to go with, and instead just took initiative with the expectation of trying to make a couple of plays in a single turn. Looks like they're going to go ATST. That's totally fine. I'm just going to go ahead and drop in a Crate Dragon. If they play any other card here, then we can just hit the Crate Dragon or their base, or hit the ATST or hit their base. And they can't follow up with a TIE Phantom because of Snoke. So that's going to be quite excellent. I'm going to attack their base, and then I'm going to attack the ATST with Snoke. Because, again, the only couple of ways that they could deal with Snoke are Swoop Down and the Overwhelming Barrage. They didn't have enough resources to Overwhelming Barrage, so I'd rather just get down the Crate Dragon just in case they played anything else, and they did not. And now we are in basically can't lose mode. Like, I don't really see us losing this game at all. I would have loved to draw in a secondary make an opening, but we did not. The other Snoke that we resourced earlier would be decent as well, but that's also kind of out of the question. I think at this point we could resource this open fire. And our opponent really can only play ATSTs and the Reinforcement Walker. There isn't really anything else that they could play. And the Reinforcement Walker just kills them this turn if they play it, because we can hit their base for a massive 8 damage. This looks like a W, and I don't really see us losing the game. They're going to claim initiative. Okay, we're going to go in and attack and attack and attack, and that's going to be game. So GG. Pretty nice little matchup there, and you got to kind of see the thought process behind every single decision and what we have to think about, as well as what our opponent has to think about. Now, this is a little bit more of a traditional Tarkin Yellow, but Frozen in Carbonite is a card that you don't often see, and in this matchup, it's really bad. You all saw kind of what it did. Is essentially 3 resources, discard a card. That's what it was in this matchup. It literally just did nothing. In fact, it did the opposite of nothing. or I guess I should say it did nothing. It actively made our opponent's turn way worse. They played it and then they sacrificed both their units to it anyways, or dealt damage to their Tarkin and killed their own ISB agent on it. Not that they had any other option necessarily. It's just that that act of playing Frozen and Carbonite did absolutely nothing. So that was really nice for us. If they had like an overwhelming barrage at that point, we could have been in a lot more trouble because they could have gotten some experience going. They could have, killed the Child Sin and maybe put in a lot more pressure on us. But I mean, this matchup was pretty straightforward in this game. And even though we have to worry about the TIE Phantom, if you're able to kind of play around it, and again, I've played this matchup a decent amount of times, you can do some things to kind of prepare for it, and you kind of know the writing on the wall, like how you're going to win the game and how you set yourself up to win the game, or maybe be in a losing position. Anyways, that was the last game I wanted to showcase. Let's talk about the Vader Blue here, wrap up at the end. So what did we learn about Vader Blue when testing in the matchups here today, as well as kind of my testing when I was preparing this list? Well, I've been playing this list for a long time, or at least this archetype, I should say, for a long time since set 1, and I absolutely love it. So I've tried to get it to work. This list is not awful. And so when I was making that video on kind of tiering up the list, I think I should have put Vader Blue on that list, especially after kind of the early testing into set 2. Set 2 early testing, it was really rough on kind of getting Vader Blue to work because there was too many wild cards out there. But now that we know the meta a little bit more, it's easier to build a control deck, as that's kind of what the controlling archetype is all about. Knowing what threats you need to answer and knowing what threats you can potentially leave on the board for a little while, and then dealing with them respectively. And now that we've seen the Tarkin yellows, the Boba yellows, the Sabine greens, and knowing what cards they could play very frequently, we are able to build a more cohesive control deck, and Vader Blue does perform reasonably well. It's still not top of the meta by any means, but if I were to go back and add Vader Blue to that list, I would actually probably put it in the higher end of B tier or maybe low end of A tier, simply because you are able to manage these matchups pretty well if you know what you're getting into, and now that we have that information, we can do so. Take, for example, the Tarkin Yellow matchup. If you've played it a lot, there are a few things you need to worry about. TIE Phantoms and not getting completely aggroed out. And so anytime you see a TIE Phantom, you need to make an opening. You need to kind of keep your entrenched if you can for the TIE Phantoms if you end up getting in that spot. And you need to realize that Vigilance is a way that you could actually realistically win that matchup. When you're against Sabine Greens, you need to worry about, not playing Child Sins too late so that you get killed by Wreckers and Poes, but maybe playing early so we can avoid things like Sabine Green flip turns, while also making sure we draw the Vigilances and heal up. Against the Boba Yellow matchup, you need to be worried about the Fett's Fire Spray. You need to be worried about, potentially a new adventure and that getting refreshed to attack you for another chunk of damage. Against the Han Yellow matchup, you need to be worried about DJ and Tech and whether or not they're going to steal a resource from you. Now, we didn't see the absolute full capability of every deck today. We saw the Bobo Yellows, we saw the Han Yellows, we saw the Sabine Greens, we saw the Tarkin Yellows. But these are very close matchups in that when you're in these games, if you make the wrong resource or if you make the slightly wrong play with these control decks, you are punished massively to the point where you can no longer win. And that's what makes them not only a deck that is tough to go up against what we got going on, but also very tough to pilot, in that you need to make sure that you're playing around every single thing that you possibly can at any given moment and preparing for certain scenarios in certain archetypes that you just cannot beat. And if you're able to do that, then you can get some results with Vader Blue. As we saw today, we took down, lots of Sabine Greens. We took out the Han Green. We took out the Han Yellow. We took out Tarkin Yellows. We took out all that stuff. But we did lose, I believe, to Boba Yellow. And I think we lost to one other one. I did some pre-testing, just kind of getting my feel for the deck again, because I hadn't played it in a few days going into this video. And I did lose to the Han Green, the old Han Green, and I did lose to a Han Yellow. And in those cases, there's just some things that you can't necessarily do. If a Han Yellow gets the combo off with the Tech DJ, or just straight up playing a DJ on 7 resources and defeating it, it can be a little bit tricky for you. And these things just happen sometimes. Sometimes You fight against Tarkin Yellow, and they have the triple TIE Phantom draw. They keep it. You deal with the first one, make an opening. They play a second one. They play a third one. And the best you got is an entrenched, but you maybe only have one entrenched. But now you can't kill any of the other units because Power of the Dark Side doesn't work. And all this other stuff happens. It's a very, very quick snowballing effect. And these are just things that you have to worry about. There are ways you could sideboard against it. And that's what we're seeing kind of here with the TIE Phantom or TIE Fighters, top targets, daring raids, pillages. You kind of situate yourself in certain matchups. Oh, the other matchup that we played against was Ray Red. I was looking at that pillage and I was like, yep, that was a nasty, nasty matchup for us. Pillages help you in those more attacking your opponent's hand matchups where you're dealing with a lot of discard. Crate Dragons help you in the control, more mid-rangey matchups. You know, Daring Raid can help you in the more aggressive matchup, especially when you're fighting against Death Star Stormtroopers and things of that nature. Top targets help you against the Sabine matchup, and TIE Fighters help you when you're fighting against TIE Phantoms, as that's a way to really get them out of the way. You do have to be careful about the TIE Fighters because they can die to ISB agents in some cases, but you just have to kind of keep that in mind. All of these things have a purpose, and every single card in the deck does have a purpose. There's a lot of things to think about, but you can make it work. So I'd say at the end of the day, after kind of showcasing the deck once again and knowing more about the meta than I did, well, 3 weeks ago, and actually seeing the meta shape up after the first few tournaments, I was wrong about Vader Blue, and I would put it definitely on the high end of B tier or low end of A tier on a tier list. You could definitely do some work, and if we're seeing more consistent meta builds of certain decks, this list might even get better. And I've mentioned this a lot on my tier list, and as we talk about set 2, this is the meta for early set 2, and we do have to worry about Crate Dragons, we have to worry about TIE Phantoms. The question is, can we worry about those and answer them and then make a successful list going forward? Or are the lists going to be so erratic / too many things to answer to where we can't deal with it and build a control deck? And I'm not sure if we've really reached that point where we're like, okay, control is an extremely viable option, but it does take time, and we're getting to that point. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you found this video interesting, and I will see you all for a video soon.